Hi, thank you so much for joining me for today's process video, and today I'm documenting a very small photo that we took on our trip to New York at Christmas of one of the streets in the West Village. So I've just printed this 3x4 and it's just really to document the change when you're in Manhattan as you move further south in the buildings and everything. We were just fascinated by it all. So I pulled out 49er Market Wherever along with my what's left of my Here and There from Simple Stories. They're all in one tub together as a travel tub. I'm sure I'll find more travel collections to add to this in due course, but I just thought for me it was easier to keep them all in one place. So I've matted that photo onto white, and now I'm going to double matte it onto black as well, just to make it stand out because it's a very small photo and I still want it to be the focus of the layout. So you can see the paper I pulled out for the background is one of the Wherever foundation papers. I just love this browny grey, and I thought it would be a really nice background rather than using my standard white and adding mixed media. So this is a piece of blue foundations that I'd used on a previous layout, and I just gutted the centre because I'd used it as a border. So I'm adding a couple of layers of that behind the photo, and you'll see as I slowly build up layers. I absolutely adore this paper with all the words on it, so I knew that I wanted to get that used. But when I add the mats here and I cut it up, I realised that I really wanted to add something else in between, and you'll see in a minute, as luck would have it, it's a gorgeous tone on tone sort of watercolour on the background. It's got browns and greens, so that just worked out perfectly for me. So I'll cut a strip here thinking that I'm going to use this as my next layer, but you'll see how it changes in a minute. So this was a kit I took. I've been away this weekend at a weekend long crop which ran Friday to Sunday, and I took these papers with me and didn't even touch them. So I was determined that I was going to get this photo documented. If you're in the UK and looking for a retreat or a weekend breakaway, it was run by Crop in the Country, Rachel Chevis and Sarah, and it was absolutely fabulous. It was such a nice relaxing weekend. It's the first time in an awful long time that I've been away and just scrapped without taking the shop with me, so it was really nice to have that downtime. So you can see there where I just flipped that paper over, this one that I'm discussing now, and that's what I'm going to use as a layer between the photo mat and that final piece, which is that wordy paper. It just worked out absolutely perfectly. So using my ATG just to get these layers stuck together. You don't need to use too much, just a decent strip is enough really. And then I'm just going to trim this one down slightly. And you can see I've pulled out all the ephemera pieces. I've got the ephemera pack from Wherever, and I've also got the small laser cut elements which I'll bring in later on when I'm nearly finished with the layout. But for now I'm just working on those ephemera pieces, and I've got the bits from Here and There in there as well from Simple Stories. So that's the paper layers finished, and now I'm just going to start sorting through. I pulled out this title from Here and There, and I knew I wanted to use that, and I really like these large geotags, but I don't end up using one of those. I do go through all the colours, but that's left behind. Love the ticket down the left hand side. I'm always drawn to blues, I don't know why, but I do manage to remind myself that there's a lot of sort of orangey browns in this photo, so I do switch that ticket out for an orangey brown one shortly. That little hexagon just says details, and it's just a nice match really for other bits that I'm going to layer up here. And then I find a little wordy piece that says a little adventure. So this was our first full day in Manhattan, and we walked from the top right the way down, more or less to the bottom. We went to Cat's Deli, but took in a lot of the other things that we wanted to see, like the Ghostbusters building and the Friends building and things. So that's why we're in the West Village at this point. So I thought the title Explore would work really nicely here. So you can just see I'm just pulling out bits and pieces and trying different things. That right hand side does get changed. It's way too white and blocky at the moment, but I'm just building up layers and just experimenting and playing really. I used that tag that was cut from the Here and There papers, but I switched that out as well. Yeah, I prefer these two little ones. There's that one, and then I do find another little one shortly. And then this little word strip says the world is yours, which goes perfectly with Explore. And then a tab at the top, of course, for my date, but again, I do switch that one out for a different colour. I just felt that green was a little bit too bright and in your face. So first of all, I switch it to this green, and then eventually I settle on a blue one. So just building up some tickets at the bottom there as well. And once again, I'm drawn to the blue and then switch it out for the green. And this is where I switch this out for blue at the top. So I'm going to start committing. So I stick the tab down first of all, and then start playing around with these bits. I decide that I want the ticket on top of the tags at first, but then when I stick it down, I stick it behind. And I think I'm so used to now building these up as a block so that I can remove them to add mixed media that I tend to do that. But it does help because you can see the shape building, and then you can make sure that it's in the right position on the background paper and not too high or too low, which I've done in the past where I've carried on building and then looked and thought, oh, I wish it was just half an inch higher up or lower down. So this is a great way of doing it. So just getting everything stuck down bit by bit once I know I'm happy with it. And sometimes I'm tucking them in slightly different places, but it doesn't really matter too much in the grand scheme of things. So this details bit does get moved around a little bit because I want to add that circular piece on top of it that says always take the scenic route. And I just want to tuck it underneath the corner of the photo there, but I also want to see the word detail, at least detail, if not details, on that hexagon. So just moving it so that it's right before adding this back down. And then I couldn't work out because I was tucking it under and thinking, well, that's way too low. It's because I was tucking it under the wrong layer. And that's sometimes the problem when you've got so many layers behind your photo. It's remembering what you'd done. So here's that little word strip that says the world is yours. I'm just going to stick it down here. I tried sticking it over the top of the photo mat, but there are too many layers. These papers are very thick and it just kept pinging off. When I put this circle under, you'll see it pings off again. So in the end, I tuck it under the 2 card mats that are behind the photo, and that way it's much better. So now to add the title, I think I'm just checking where I wanted it to go before I definitely commit to having it at the bottom there, and then I'm going to stick everything down onto the background so that I can add the title. So using my T-square ruler just to check that this is straight on the background. There we go. And then I'm going to overlap the foam stickers onto that bottom mat. So again, using my T-square ruler just to check that this is all straight. And it doesn't take a second. I'm slightly annoyed that the P and the R have that white centre, particularly because normally I do scrap on a white background, so it wouldn't have been as noticeable had I done that. But I'm sure I won't see it next time I look at the layout, but when I was creating it, it did annoy me a little bit. So I decided that that white postcard piece was way too blocky on the right hand side of this as a layer, so I switch it out for one of these frames. I'm just going to trim that down because I can use that other piece another day, and then just tucking that under, and I'm going to use that bottom piece as my journaling spot. And I really like the shape that that creates on the layout. The photo is slightly to the left rather than central because the buildings are looking out to the right, so it made sense to me to have the photo on the left hand side here. So there's that frame. I just used my Nuvo Deluxe to stick that down. It's the easiest way to do it. Just double checking I didn't want this journaling spot higher up, but I definitely want it to just sit on top of that E of the word explore. And then I'm adding my journaling. And my journaling just reads West Village, 7th Avenue and West 11th Street. Hard to believe how different Manhattan is here. It's a much calmer pace for sure. So I added the roller date on the little tab at the top there, and now this is where I'm just looking through these mini laser cut elements. I just wanted to bring something into that frame so that it wasn't quite so stark, so I just pulled off one of these little green vines and I'm adding that, and that works really nicely because in the photo you can see the little flower bed in the bottom right hand side there. It is a lot less built up here, so more greenery to see. And then I spotted this little camera, so I'm just going to add that to the cluster down there on the left hand side. And just as I'm sticking that down, I see this little compass, so add that to all the circular elements down here. And then I treated myself to the little tote bag, and that came with these enamel dots, so I'm just going to add some of those and scatter them around. So I wanted to add 3. The big ones really are rather big, but then I felt that I wanted to bring the line down a little bit further. So first of all, just adding some twine to the top 2 tags, and I'm just going to leave that sort of trailing down, just through the right hand tag, and then one of the pieces through the left hand tag, and then, as I say, just leaving them to trail down there. And then I find a little piece that says Wonder More, and this is where I wanted to build it up a little bit more at the bottom. And that's when I spot these beautiful washi stickers. My friend Julie gave me these. These are from the previous travel collection from 49er Market. So first, I think it was called Everywhere, wasn't it? So first of all, I had that word Everywhere underneath Explore. And then there's this little bulldog clip in orange, so I add that to the left there. And then a little label that I add underneath the journaling spot, and then a camera on top of that, just to create some layers. There we go. And finally a little blue heart, which is a map piece, and I just add that underneath that Everywhere, and it just kind of gets caught on the paper, but actually I think, yeah, that looks nice there. So bringing in that final piece, which is the laser cut element that says Wonder More. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you've been inspired by this video. Do ask if you have any questions, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.